far-reaching impacts that worsen global inequality, poverty, and humanitarian crisis. Many countries face rising and unsustainable debt. Meanwhile, Russia's war in Ukraine has resulted in thousands of deaths and continues to destabilize the region, creating knock-on effects for food and energy security around the globe. These challenges and others are immense yet addressable, and G20 is well placed to do so. A very good evening to each and everyone present here. Myself, Shailendra Rathore, and I welcome you all on this platform GSTS, or Graduate Scholars Talk Series. Well, this time we are conducting 114th talk. First of all, I would like to thank to all the coordinators of GSTS like Ms. Manvi Saraswat, Ms. Shubhi Singh, Ms. Samriddhi Kanpal, Mr. Ajay Gupta, Mr. Shubham Tiwari, and Mr. Saurabh Singh. They whole the week carved out speakers, and only because of them, speakers could present themselves here on Sunday at 5 p.m. Next, thanks to whole the team of Sakshi who directly or indirectly serve in this particular initiative. And of course, I like it would be very unfair if I'll not take this particular name, like Dr. Manish Karwar sir, who is our all-time mentor. So thank you so much, sir. And of course, sir is the strongest pillar of this particular initiative. Well, this initiative puts forward a scholaristic and professional platform for graduate candidates all across the country who are ardent to portray their thoughts, opinions, and understanding of miscellaneous topics. GSTS as a platform has been continuously working for 100 Sundays, 100 weeks, 100 speakers from 50 different locations in India, 100 guests of honor from 70 colleges across the nation, and of course, 100 different ideas. And with those 100 different ideas, on 30th of Feb, GSTS celebrated its completion of 100 talks, where it organized a one-day seminar called Art of Articulation at Conference Center, North Campus, where we were graced by some very prominent professors and guest of honors like Professor Vijaya Lakshmi Singh ma'am, Mr. Santosh Kumar, who is Director of Doordarshan, Professor Vallam Pani, Professor Rajni Abhi ma'am, Professor K. Ratnabali, Professor Geeta Bhatt ma'am, who is currently Director of NCWAP. Now, this is a journey of 100 talks. We didn't stop. We are at 114th, like today we are conducting 114th talk, and we will be continue. Proceeding further, now it's time to introduce a respected and honorable guest of honor for today's session. For this, I would like to welcome Dr. Avantika Singh, ma'am. Ma'am, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and coming. Ma'am is an assistant professor at Department of Political Science at University of Delhi. She has done her bachelor's and master's from Indraprasth College and Hindu College respectively. She has done her PhD from Department of Political Science at University of Delhi under the title Gendering Climate Change Vulnerability, a case study of two villages in Uttar Pradesh. Her area of interests include gender, climate change, adaptation and vulnerability study, decentralization, green federalism, Indian politics, and public administration. Her research skills include participatory rural appraisal method, mixed method approach, sampling techniques, interviewing techniques, etc. Ma'am has also been a consultant at International Rice Research Institute, which is in Delhi. She has presented many articles, content, e-content, and chapters as well. Well, ma'am has always been an inspiration for MA students. Ma'am, before proceeding further, I would like to take your permission to start the event and like some of your initial remarks.
Thank you so much, Shalindra, and thank you, Manish ji, for inviting me. It's been my first opportunity interacting with graduates. Somehow, I have been very unlucky of not teaching the graduate students. I've always been involved with the masters, but it's so good to see you all, and it's so good to know that you all are progressing towards a thought process. Very important when you embark on your journey of higher studies, the thinking mind, which we often see is missing. So I'm so happy that when you move on to your postgraduate or the PhD level, these thinking mind will probably be the most effective in researching, because you already have that training to think, and that's what we require in research. So good luck to you, and I'm very sure you're going to bring good fortune for you. And this been a very good platform. I congratulate Manishi for this very good initiative, and I hope you that carry forward it to 500 thousands of episodes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Like, thanks, literally, thanks a lot. And we will surely come back to you for your final remarks when once our speaker will be done. So, as long as we are willing to continue investing in experimentation, research, and evaluation, and build on this knowledge base, we will be able to meet the development challenge. With this, I would like to invite today's speaker, Ms. Vaishnavi Mishra. She is a graduate scholar at Shamlal College Evening, and today she is going to present her talk on G20 Aim, History, and Actions. So, Ms. Vaishnavi, best of luck. As expected, you are going to nail today's talk. Go ahead with your talk.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shailendra. And first of all, I would like to thank this GSTS platform and member associated with it. And a special thank to the chief guest, definitely. And with this, I just want to wish all of you a very lovely good evening. This is Vaishnavi Mishra, second year graduate scholar from Delhi University. Now, I would like to present my talk on the topic, that is G20 Aim, History, and Action. First of all, before moving toward my talk, I would like to present the five major objectives of my talk. So first of all, I'll talk about introduction of G20. Then moving forward, we'll talk about G20 structure, previous summits, and actions. Then we'll talk about G20 and India's presidency, definitely. Then the fourth one is glorification of India through G20. And at last, we'll come to the conclusion of my talk. So starting with the introduction. So the first question that comes up in our mind, that what is G20? So basically, G20 is a semblance of 19 major countries and a group of European Union. So first of all, let us focus on those 19 countries that are Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Republic of Korea, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, UK, and US. And the last one, as I've mentioned, is Group of European Union. So basically, all these 20 members come up together, have discussion over economic and financial stability. So this was a quite simple introduction of G20. But again, a question must be coming in your mind, that what is the need of G20 and what must be the history behind G20? So moving forward, we'll talk about the history of G20. So see, G20 was founded in 1999 after the biggest financial crisis of that time. That was Asian financial crisis of 1997 to 1998, But before that, number of financial crises were there. If we talk about Mexican financial crisis or UK and US financial crisis, but the major one was Asian financial crisis. And that's the reason when at first it was very informal meet of just the finance minister of these 20 members and the central bank governors. But as the year passes by, now it is becoming a platform of head of state are doing these meetings. But at first, it was just a very informal platform where these 20 members get together and have discussion over the financial and economical stability. So that was the history of G20. And if we are talking about the importance of G20, so see, this one particular line will be enough to tell you that how important the G20 is. G20 represent around 85% of global gross GDP of the world, and then nearly 75% of world trade and about two-thirds of the world population. That clearly tells that how important the G20 is. Then G20 is a premier forum for international economic cooperation, and it plays an important role in shaping and strengthening the global architect and governance in all major international economic issues. And it's not only enough. G20 forum focuses largely on broad macroeconomic issues, but since it have expanded its inter alia, now G20 is becoming quite political and social as well. And it is focusing over trade, climate change, sustainability, sustainable development, and then health, agriculture, environment, education. And there are a number of agendas that are coming in front of G20. And these 20 members are day by day including number of more agendas to G20 platform. So see, this was quite a small introduction of G20. Then I've taught that what was the history behind G20 and how important G20 is for us and what are the number of agendas that are included in G20. Now, moving forward with the second objective of my talk, that G20 structure, previous summits and actions. So see, जब हम लोग G20 के स्ट्रक्चर की बात करेंगे तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट आएगा ट्रायो का. सो इस चीज को इंडिया के सेंस में समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. अब इंडिया के जो ट्रायो का फेस होने वाले हैं इस बार, डेफिनेटली वो हमारे पीएम नरेंद्र मोदी जी. Then we'll talk about Ajit Doval, one of the very well-known person who is right now handling the international relations with other countries of India. And then it comes to my favorite, External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar. So these are the trioca for India as a face, and whatever will going to happen in G20, they'll be responsible for that. Then if we talk about, if we talk about trioca in sense of G20, so it is also a group of 3 countries. उन 3 कंट्रीज का ग्रुप होता है जिसके पास ऑलरेडी G20 की प्रेसिडेंसी थी, जिसके पास करंट टाइम में है और आगे आने वाले टाइम में जिसके पास होगी. So this form trioca. Now moving forward, what is Sherpa track? It is very important to know for all of us. See, let us again understand it in terms of India. Now, who is the Sherpa face for India? So he is no one else than Mr. Amitabh Kant, who have already served as ex-CEO of Niti Aayog and definitely the former IS officer. He is going to be the face of India this time in G20. So likewise that, other countries is also having their Sherpa faces who will get together, whatever the tenure. See, there is a fixed tenure of G20. वो उस tenure में मिलते हैं. They have a meetup. They talk about different agendas that come under Sherpa track and then come up to a final decision. Now, let us talk that what are the different topics that come under Sherpa track. That are development, anti-corruption, food security, and number of agendas, while addressing the international aspect, such as procedural rules of G20 process. The Sherpa carry out important planning, negotiation, implementation of task continuity. So, this was all about Sherpa track. Now, what is finance track? It is cleared by the name itself. Now, finance track is again going to just have the discussion over all those economic and financial stability or whatever the agenda of these 20 countries, especially. But basically, the Sherpa track and finance track rely on the technical and substantive work of series of expert group working. Additionally, their thematic agenda is developed through the organizational meetings. बेसिकली जो भी एजेंडाज G20 के अंदर आते हैं उन मिनिस्टर्स की एक मीटिंग होती है एंड देन दे डिस्कस एंड दे कम अप टू अ फाइनल डिसीजन. सो वो मिनिस्ट्री की मीटिंग हो सकती है, डेवलपमेंट एंड फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स की मीटिंग, लेबर मिनिस्टर, एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर. सो number of ministers are there and they come up to a final decision after discussing the agenda among them. Now, the last one that comes under it is engagement group. Now, the question again comes up, what is this engagement group? So, it is basically the non-government units, like if we talk about Labor 20, Women 20, Science 20, Parliament 20, Urban 20, Startup 20, and there are a number of such non-government groups. Basically, इनका काम ये होता है, for example, if we take the example of Women 20. So, these 20 members come up together, talk about the agenda of their country in terms of women. Whatever the problem is, they'll tackle it with that and come up to a final decision. Basically, this is the work of engagement group. So that is just the introduction in sense of G20 structure. Moving forward, we'll talk about the previous summits that have already happened. So basically, I'll focus on the first summit that have already been done. Then I'll tell that how it annually goes on. Then we'll talk majorly, I'll focus on India's presidency, definitely. And so let us begin. The first summit was hosted by US President in Washington, D.C. in November 2008 to develop a coordinated response to global and financial crisis. At first summit, the leader discussed the cause of financial and the global economic crisis. And they agreed to implement the action plan around the three main objectives. Now, let us talk about what are those three main objectives, starting with the first, restoring the global growth. Then the second objective was reforming the international financial institution. And at last, they have decided the third objective as strengthening the international financial system. So see, from that time to till today in 2023, we are observing that somehow we are just rounding around these main three objectives. And it has been the base for every country when they are leading the G20 presidency. See, as G20 do not have any permanent staff, secretariat, or any permanent president, so it moves around annually, right? So from Washington, D.C., it moves around London, then it went to Petersburg, then Toronto, Seoul, Keynes, then it comes to St. Petersburg, Brisbane, Hamburg, and then we talk about Osaka, Saudi Arabia, Italy, Indonesia, and number of countries are there in the list who have already done the G20 presidency. And definitely it comes to India's presidency right now. But before moving to India's presidency, I just want to express something that when we go and observe that before 2020, basically all these 20 members get together and again discuss over that same agenda of financial crisis and economical crisis, how we can stable that. Somewhere their agenda is around that particular point of financial stability. But from 2020, when Saudi Arabia was having the G20 presidency in its hand, from then we have observed that number of agenda has been added. That was for the first time in history of in history of G20, when the virtual meet has done in sense of G20, because at that time the world was going through the corona pandemic, right? And then having so successful G20 is one of the very good achievement for that G20 platform. And the major attraction was the agenda that was realizing the opportunities for 21st century. And we will notice that from then, when we talk about Indonesia and Italy as well, they have added up number of agenda. For example, in sense of women, education, health, and definitely of vaccine that comes under health. So number of agendas been added up, right? So now we are going to talk about India's presidency. So moving forward with my third main objective of the talk, we'll talk about G20 and India's presidency. See, this is the 18th edition of G20, which India is leading as the president. India took up a year-long presidency of G20 from 1st December 2022 to till November 2023. Our PM Narendra Modi assured the world leaders that during the G20 presidency, India would work toward inclusive, ambitious, and action oriented policies. PM Modi stated the G20 that it has to send some strong message to the youth, for example, in sense of peace and harmony. Because without that, the next generation will not be able to get the benefit of all these economic growth and whatever the technological innovation we are doing. And I guess he's somewhere very right. Because if we are just engaged in fighting with each other, how will the next generation will get all those benefit? That's the reason why hope, harmony, peace, stability are the significant ideas that will outline India's presidency this year. And the world was going through after effect of disruptive once in a year pandemic. Number of conflicts were going on, a lot of economical uncertainty. We are just trying to cope out of this post-COVID effect, but then this Russia-Ukraine war was in front of us. जितना भी हम लोगों ने cope up करने की कोशिश की थी कोरोना पैंडेमिक से, then we are again at that same position because of this. People started losing their job. There was food insecurity, financial instability, but we are not taking it in that sense. We are taking it otherwise. That's another topic to discuss. But moving forward, that's the only reason India will going to work in universal sense of oneness, and hence our theme is one earth, one family, one future. That is Vasudev Kutumbakam. The symbol of lotus in G20 logo represent hope in these days. No matter how the adverse circumstances, the lotus will bloom. So let it be. Now, moving forward, I would just like to play a video of PM Narendra Modi once before moving toward the fourth objective of my talk.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also unveiled the logo, theme and website of the 2023 G20 Summit on November 8th.
इस लोगो और थीम के जरिए हमने ये संदेश दिया है, हिंसा के प्रतिरोध में महात्मा गांधी के जो समाधान है, G20 के जरिए भारत उनकी वैश्विक प्रतिष्ठा को नई ऊर्जा दे रहा है.
So yeah, that is all about G20 presidency in terms of India. Now moving forward with the fourth main objective of my talk, that is glorification of India through this G20 platform. So जब हम glorification की बात करेंगे इंडिया के in terms of G20, so definitely we are going to talk about all those positive and challenges that are going to be faced by India. So starting with the positives. So इंडिया के पास एक अच्छा मौका है ये बताने का that we are the largest democracy. Not only that, why we are the largest democracy, that is also one of the things that India can show to the other nations this time. And India have biggest opportunity to show its glory and diversity. It will be an opportunity to showcase the member of other nation its new height in terms of economic growth and economic progress, and then startup, science, technology, space innovation, and different other things. in which India is proceeding right now. And you will be amazed to know that India will host 200 plus G20 meetings in 56 different places. Now you can imagine how big exposure is there for India to show that, yes, we are having a good tourism. Through that, India can just promote its tourism and definitely can make good relation in terms of trade, and many more other fields are there to develop for India. See, not only that, I'll also talk about some of the major positive for India through this G20. वो कहते हैं ना, हर चीज के लिए टाइमिंग बहुत मैटर करती है. So when we talk about the timing for India and G20, go and see. Right now, the world is going through number of geopolitical and economical stress. And at that time, India is holding the G20 presidency. अब इंडिया इसको किस तरीके से अपने लिए पॉजिटिव बनाएगी, इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन आवर लीडर्स एंड हाउ वी आर गोइंग टू वर्क इन दैट फील्ड. नाउ मूविंग टू द सेकेंड मेजर पॉजिटिव, दैट थ्रेट ऑफ मल्टीलैटरलिज्म. बेसिकली होता क्या है, जितनी भी डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज हैं, इफ वी टॉक अबाउट यूएसए, यूके, देन रशिया एंड चाइना, नंबर ऑफ डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज, they'd always try to just pressurize those small economies and try to just govern them. But as India being the developing economy, वो जब G20 की presidency को lead कर रहा है, now how India is going to put its governance in front of them? That is one of the very positive in front of the world right now. So now moving forward, the third major objective, that India's growing clot, that is accepted worldwide, no doubt in that. That the world is accepting that India is one of the best country and one of the emerging country in the world. And all the leaders and countries knowing that India is not going to pressurize by any developing economies or their leaders. I would like to just give an example of Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar, our external affairs minister. One of the European reporter asked to him that why India is not taking any clear stand for any particular country. So he just smiled and answered that if we are not taking stand for any particular country, that doesn't mean that we are sitting in your city or in your country. No, we are in our country, in our land. And it's totally depend on us that to whom we will support and to whom we will not support. You are nobody to ask question on that. So that clearly tells that India is not going to get pressurized by any developing economies. Now, moving forward, we'll talk about the positive in sense of structure of G20. Go and check. This is happening for the first time, that the Trioca that I've already talked about, the group of 3 countries. So this time, there is only the developing economies are there in Trioca. If we talk about Indonesia, if we talk about India currently holding the G20 presidency, and the upcoming president of G20, that is Brazil. So all 3 are together, and India is one of the dominant country if we talk about in sense of Indonesia and Brazil. Now, how India is going to just manage all that, that could be a positive for India. So, ये तो बात हुई positives की. अगर positives हैं, तो definitely कुछ challenges तो हमें face करने ही होंगे. Let us talk about some of the challenges that India is going to face in G20. So, the very first challenge that India must face this year in G20, that how it will going to help the low economic country, because इससे पहले एक data आया था and estimate किया गया था in terms of dollar that 866 billion का low debt rise हुआ है small economies का. And even IMF ने भी, International Monetary Fund ने भी warn किया था पूरे world को that during the time of COVID pandemic and even the post effect, it will affect later as well, कि 21st century जो हो सकती है वो हमारे लिए एक dark century, dark era हो सकता है, and definitely it will be a time of recession and economic inflammation, right? So now India is leading the G20 presidency. How will it going to take that challenges? That is one of the major challenge that India will face this year. Moving forward, we'll talk that collapse of G20 talks in Bali spark in terms of climatic pledges. ये सारी 20 कंट्रीज इकट्ठा हुई थी एंड दे हैव जस्ट टेक द प्लेज इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्लाइमेटिक चेंज दैट, और इवन सीबीडीआर के अंडर इन्होंने ये फैसला लिया था दैट एनुअली विल स्पेंड in terms of $100 billion in case of climatic change and over the environment. But अभी तक कोई भी प्रोग्रेस देखने को नहीं मिली है. And it is very funny point to note as well. It is one of the mandate from 2009. From 2009 to till today, there is no progress in that. How India will going to manage that? That is also one of the question. And the whole world is claiming that environment can play one of the very major role in upcoming times. Let us see what India will do in this case. Moving forward, World Food Program warns of looming food availability crisis in 2020-23. Recent report में ये आया है कि वर्ल्ड को फूड क्राइसिस फेस करनी पड़ सकती है. नाउ अब इसको इंडिया के सेंस में समझते हैं. इंडिया अपने आप को पूरे वर्ल्ड में क्या क्लेम करती है? दैट वी आर एग्रीकल्चर कंट्री, और इंडिया इज कंसीडर्ड एज वन ऑफ द चीपेस्ट कंट्री इन सेंस ऑफ डेटा. डेटा की प्राइस तो इंडिया में कम है, और जो कंट्री अपने आप को एग्रीकल्चर कंट्री क्लेम करती है, वहीं पे एग्रीकल्चर से एक्सट्रैक्ट किए जाने वाली चीजें, नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज, इफ यू टॉक अबाउट वीट, राइस, पल्सेस, अदर एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्ट, पेट्रोल एंड डीजल, इन सारी चीजों की प्राइसेस दिन पे दिन बढ़ रही है इन कंपैरिजन ऑफ डेटा. दैट इज अनदर फैक्ट टू कोरिलेट विद. बट इवन देन आप देख सकते हो, जब एक एग्रीकल्चर कंट्री की कंडीशन ये है और वही कंट्री G20 प्रेसिडेंसी को लीड कर रहा है, देन हाउ इंडिया विल कन्विंस द अदर कंट्री टू थिंक इन दैट फूड सिक्योरिटी इन दिस फील्ड? दैट इज वन ऑफ द चैलेंज अगेन. नाउ द बेसिक थिंग दैट इज कोटा रिफॉर्म. अगर हम इंटरनल पॉलिटिक्स की बात करें इंडिया की, या फिर वर्ल्ड लेवल की पॉलिटिक्स की बात करें, अगेन एंड अगेन इंडिया ने हमेशा कोटा रिफॉर्म की बात की है और हमेशा इस चीज में इंटरफेयर किया है, और कहीं ना कहीं इंडिया गलत नहीं है. इफ यू टॉक रिसेंट में इंडिया ने यूएनएससी को इंटरफेयर किया था, यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल. इंडिया कहती है कि इन 5 कंट्री स्पेशली जिनके पास वीटो पावर्स हैं, दे ऑलवेज नेकेडली अब्यूज देयर पावर, मतलब कभी भी कुछ भी यूज करना. So why only they have the dominance over those veto power? Why not the other countries? Why don't we have all those quotas? Not only in UNSC, India also demanded it in terms of International Monetary Fund and World Bank as well. Let us see how India will face that challenge and come up to a final decision. So not only that, we'll also talk that this is one of the very biggest problem, that can we push the world to rethink our current economic system even if we are not out of that? Very critical point to analyze कि जब इंडिया कैसे और कंट्री को कन्विंस करेगा इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन के ऊपर रीथिंक करने पे. जबकि अगर हम बात करें तो इंडिया की जो इकोनॉमिक गैप है राइट नाउ, और जो लोगों के बीच में इनकम गैप है करेंटली, वो 1947 और 1948 के एरास का है. वो कंट्री जब G20 प्रेसिडेंसी को लीड कर रहा है, वो कैसे और सारी कंट्री को कन्विंस करेगा दैट वी हैव टू रीथिंक ऑन आवर इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम? दैट इज वन ऑफ द वेरी मेजर चैलेंज दैट इंडिया हैव टू फेस दिस ईयर. सो एक चैलेंज है दैट आई थिंक दैट इज वेरी इजी फॉर इंडिया, बट लेट अस सी हाउ विल इंडिया मैनेज दैट. Can we let the other country to rethink of substance of democracy? See, India is a democratic country and we believe in democracy and democratic government. But आज के टाइम में लोगों का कहीं ना कहीं वन पार्टी सिस्टम पे बिलीव है, जो एक कोई कह रहा है उस पे ही उसकी ही बात माननी है. बट इंडिया कैसे अदर कंट्री को कन्विंस करेगा? नो, बिलीव इन डेमोक्रेसी, बिलीव इन द डेमोक्रेटिक गवर्नमेंट. लेट अस सी नाउ. एंड not only this much, see, there's one more challenge, that can we promote the substantive global institution as we ourselves is not happy with their proceedings? Yes, this is very true. हम खुद यूएन की प्रोसीडिंग हुई, यूएसए की प्रोसीडिंग्स हुई, या फिर बात करें रशिया, चाइना, जितनी भी डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज हैं, हम उनकी प्रोसीडिंग से खुश नहीं हैं. और हम इस बार G20 के प्रेसिडेंट हैं. हम कैसे उन लो इनकम इकोनॉमीज को, इवन जो डेवलपिंग इकोनॉमीज है, कैसे कन्विंस करेंगे दैट वी हैव टू क्वेश्चन दोज डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज, दैट व्हाटएवर दे आर डूइंग रॉन्ग. but हम खुद question नहीं उठा रहे हैं, so how can we convince them? Let us see what our leader will do in that case. So coming up to last but not the least challenge that India will face this year, will there be any East versus West firework in G20? Yes, you heard me right. I'm talking about one side it will going to be Russia, one side it will going to be Ukraine, and then again in one side China and America. How India will going to play a role of mediocre, that's very interesting to see. Will India make a good bonding in them, or will going to see any aggression or fireworking in them? Let us see what will happen. So at last, moving forward to the end of my talk, I'll just say that there are some questions in my mind, especially I'll like to put two, that G20 is considered as a platform of economic discussion. But don't you think that day by day and as the year is passing by, it is becoming a political platform? That's a major question that comes up in all of us mind. And then the second major question, that our leader are trying to just glorify India at that such big stage of G20. Are they doing genuinely, or it just for the upcoming 2024 election? Let us see what will happen. And I'll try to cover up all those parts as soon as the G20 will end in my next talk. But moving forward to the conclusion of my talk, I'll just like to say that yes, G20 is a global platform, and there is no such partiality can be seen over here, because it is a platform where the most developed economies as well as the developing economies are working together. Everyone's point of view is heard and respected. Sometimes even the developing country put their view forward and they are implemented on all those developed economies. So it is one of the very good platform to work for the world leaders. And not only that, G20 structure is very well distributed among those four groups that I've talked about. And now, when we talk about India's presidency, see, being an Indian, it's a very proud moment for all of us that yes, India is leading the G20 presidency. And being an Indian, and definitely our leader as well believe that we are going to tackle all those problems that will come in front of us, because we have that capability and compatibility to tackle with all those challenges that will come in front of us. And definitely we'll come to some of the positives that will take from G20. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vaishnavi. First of all, congratulations, like the way you have presented the whole talk, opportunities, challenges, like the role of India. I mean, India is actually doing the presidency of G20 this year. So you have explained everything like in a very better way. So you did 100% justice with your talk. Now moving forward, let's take some questions from our audience. The first question I could see, okay, by Mr. Himanshu Dutt, and he's asking, what are the primary reason for the establishment of G20?
See, Shalendra, if I talk about the primary reason for the setup of G20, I have already explained that yes, the financial crisis and the economical crisis in the first era of 1999, and that's the reason why the G20 is established, I guess.
Okay, that's nice. Now, the second question by Mr. Mohit, and he's asking, there is no friend or enemy at the international level. There is only geopolitical interest. Like I'm repeating again, there is no friend or enemy at the international level. There is only geopolitical interest. What's your remarks or opinion on this sentence?
I guess somewhere it is right, because the word is somewhere playing it politically, taking it very political, as I've already mentioned that, and I have put this question also at the end, that somewhere G20 is becoming quite political, and at first we are just discussing over the economical issues, and now number of agendas being adding. And yes, he's right somewhere that there is no enemy or there is nothing like that, but even then when we take those agendas, somewhere the country become quite political. Yes, I guess that must be the answer.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, another question by Miss Shubhi, and she's asking, do you think relevance of G20 is there for developed countries in today's world?
Definitely, there's a relevance of those developed economies if I talk, because see, if I take it very positively, so yes, those developing economies are somewhere trying to get some positives from those developed country. And if I talk about somewhere those negative aspect as well, कहीं ना कहीं हम लोग ये भी देख रहे हैं कि जो मोस्ट डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज है राइट नाउ, ज्यादातर प्रॉब्लम्स वही आ रही हैं. बट अगर हम पॉजिटिव कुछ लेना चाहें वहां से, तो डेफिनेटली हम लोगों को बहुत आइडिया मिलता है उन डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमी से for those low developing economies, and definitely the developing economy. So there is very great relevance of those developed countries in G20 platform.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Vaishnavi, for like you have answered all the questions very well. Now, last question. We always ask this question to our each and every speaker. Like, how was your experience with this particular platform? Not like as a member, as a speaker. How was your experience?
It is very good experience for me, and definitely the GSTS platform is one of the very great platform for all those voices that try to come up right now. And definitely, I'll thank to all the members. They are very supportive, and especially in my case, I'll take some of the name as well. I'll like to thank Manish sir. I would definitely like to thank Shubhi Di, Ajay Bhaiya, Shubham Bhaiya, and Shiva, especially Shiva and Shalendra. You both have been one of the motivated pillar for me. So thank you so much, all of you. And definitely to all the members. It was
Thank,
great working with all of you.
Thank you so much, Vaishnavi. Like after all, you did a very wonderful job, like collecting everything and like giving your talk together at this platform. It was absolutely wonderful. Congratulations once again for your successful talk. Now, moving forward, it's time to invite our guest of honor again for her final remarks. So now I would like to invite Dr. Avantika, ma'am. Ma'am, please like give your final remarks over the talk, over the topic, like today's topic, and over this particular platform.
Thank you, Shailendra, for letting me speak, and thank you, Vaishnavi, for a very great talk. I'm very excited to hear you. Reason because obviously, see, being a graduate, the skills needs to be more trained and enhanced. But the way you present it, it really oozes your confidence, and that's what we want to learn. That you, young generation, is very clear about your things and is trying to learn those things which is so new. I mean, even I got to know few new terms which I wasn't aware despite being the member of the G20. So thank you for your education on this. Now few pointers which I want to start with. G20, we know, was a macroeconomic talk platform wherein the countries were involved in macroeconomics, the issues. But eventually with the time we have underwent the journey of this G20 issues which are very paramount, and somehow they are also articulating the macroeconomic condition. For example, climate change, we cannot now take it as a different issue from a macroeconomic issue, or even the women development for that matter. So everything being very entwined. And what is great about this G20 forum is that it is not taking those things into account as a functional reputation, as a functional theme, not taking into a different compartment, which is so good, because now we can have converging themes, understanding it from macroeconomic issues, and macroeconomic issues also understanding these themes from other perspectives. So many lenses have been introduced in G20. This is so wonderful about G20. Now, coming to the current G20 presidency, you all are aware that it is Vasudev Kutumbakam, which propounds the one nation, one family, and one, the future. So you need to, think about the kind of a philosophy which India is trying to manage, given we are doing it after the post-COVID situation, which is one of the extreme situation we are facing. For example, due to the Russia and Ukraine war, the potassium, which is one of the fertilizer mainly used by numerous country, have actually put a lot of macroeconomic pressure even on India, wherein we have to budget a lot of subsidies to our farmers. So there are a lot of situation because of the COVID which we are facing, and in that difficult situation, India is not only trying to manage the difficulties and the divides, because in this platform you have Russia also. Ukraine is outside, but still Russia is there. Not people. Everyone on G20 platform is happy with Russia. So there are a lot of frictions which we can probably parallelly see. There's China, with which we are not happy, given how they're operating in Taiwan, for example. So there are unhappy people coming together, and we are trying to make it and converge the thoughts in a way that, okay, whatever our unhappiness are, now we have certain issues, and for the development of the world, Vasudev Kutumbakam, where we perceive it beyond our differences and maybe enmity in certain cases, that how we all are equal for the development path is so important, and India is doing it fantastically. In fact, the word which is mentioned, in the G20 summit is not India, it's Bharat. By the word Bharat, see, these many important words bring the kind of a philosophy to India. Somehow, India is trying to also bring the traditional culture. And also, in fact, if I can see the projects which are coming from DST, from ICSI or UGC, the kind of project with the government is now initiating up for the further research, which, mind you, will also be very useful and is propagated by the G20 forum also, is on the traditional practices, on the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. So India is trying to really, these branches which were divided and wherein India did not, for the couple of past years, was not really thinking about those terms. Now they are coming up on that. And not only India is doing it internally, they are also showcasing that as a president, I'm setting certain rules. Probably you can also follow them. So these are so important, that how do you give respect and a scope to your indigenous population, not only internally but also at the international level. This is an empowering tool. This is really bringing the research, the interdisciplinary research at the forum, which is so excellent of India. But there were two questions. Maybe I can hint some of the points which may be able to answer you. Number one, 2024 in elections. See, in India, we have elections every 6 months. So if we are going to term everything with elections, I think we cannot even discuss anything. I mean, obviously, election do sway, but election is not only the criteria to think on these matters. Uh, I think it's diplomatically very important, be it election year or not. That's put aside. Diplomatically very important that we put forth how we as a country are growing, because in international order, your situation, how do you portray, how do you define yourself, is so important for the relationship uh, impact. Okay, so how maybe in couple of years will be present of many important things. I hope you are aware that apart from the 20 countries, there were invited countries and also the invited forums, IMF, World Bank. Uniqueness is so important. This is philosophically very important, to portray yourself as one of the country wherein indigenous population is respected, regarded, and wherein we, in such difficult situation with such difficult partner, are still trying to make things conducive, not only for self but for everyone around. If you take up the list of those invited, also cover those countries which are least developed and requires the most help. So bringing them also on the invitee forum speaks of our intention. This does not actually speaks that we will be siding on what side. So from unipolarity, it sometimes seems that we are again shifting to the bipolarity. But according to me, I think the NAM standard is still maintained by Indian. So I think that is one, probably one of the answer for the 2024 what you connected. And the next difficulties are there and probably they will remain. But when Gandhi talked about the oceanic circle, he talked about his concept of state. So people started asking him that what you are saying is not achievable. So why are you even speaking of something and asking India to go on the path which cannot be achieved? You know what he answered? He said, I know in the given condition and maybe in the given future, what I'm dreaming of is impossible. But if I don't give up the dream, then people not will not even think about moving on that path. So thinking of something is so important because that define our path. So I think the intention of India maybe in some situation may seem to be very difficult to achieve, but it's so important to dream. Only then we can define a path. Thank you so much. And it was a wonderful talk. I'm so happy and so glad that I joined in, learned about you people, learn about what kind of confidence you all graduate are oozing with, especially commendable thought. And thank you, Manishji, for convening such a wonderful platform. I hope you have not only 500,000, but even maybe 5,000, 6,000 episodes. I'm so happy with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you so much for giving such a knowledge to all of us, to all of us scholars. So thank you so much. Like once again, thank you so much, ma'am. Proceeding further, continuity gives us roots, change gives us branches, and they together provide us strength to grow and reach new heights. So, with this, I would like to invite our next speaker, like our to be speaker for the next Sunday, Mr. Abhinav, who will be presenting his talk on the topic Dr. Ambedkar as the first visionary on water resource management. So, Mr. Abhinav, please give a brief introduction your upcoming talk on next Sunday at 5 p.m.
Hello, good evening to everyone. I am Abhinav, currently a MPhil research scholar at the Department of African Studies, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Delhi. And I have also authored a book titled The Trails of Ambedkar, which was recently published by the Blue Rose publication. Also, I am glad to inform you that in this continuation of GSTS, I will be delivering a talk on the topic of Dr. Ambedkar as the first visionary for water resource management in India on the 14th of May 2023, which is next Sunday. Friends, Ambedkar is a grand and multi-talented personality who remarkably worked on various disciplines, including political economy, sociology, history, and law, and developed his own methodology to address the gaps and issues of literature and societal problems. Most people know him for his contribution to the upliftment of women, Shudras, and untouchables, and mostly as the chairman of the drafting committee for the Constitution of India. But his legacy on water policy, its management, and water and electrical power development is still less known or overlooked by social scientists and policymakers of India. My objective in this talk would be to discuss the thinking and role of Dr. Ambedkar in view of water and power development in the country as minister in charge of the labor department during 1942 to 1946. I will discuss the water and electrical policy challenges India was facing during that time and what and how institutions, organization, commissions, and policy frameworks came to respond to those challenges. What Ambedkar designed and developed for irrigation waterways, the drainage system of India, inland water transportation, the development of electrical power, the new water policy framework, the role of 1935 Act, River Valley Basin, technical expert bodies such as Central Waterways Irrigation and Navigation Commission and the Central Technical Power Board, and what was his vision for the utilization of water as a natural and sustainable resource, and how could we address contemporary problems related to water and power. So here I am inviting you to join this thought-provoking talk, which is currently scheduled on 14th of May 2023. Kindly join it with your valuable presence. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Abhinav. We will certainly join your talk. And again, you all are invited in the upcoming Graduate Scholar Talk Series 115th. Now, at last, it's time for vote of thanks. No duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. So, for this, I would like to invite Ms. Shiva Tiwari. Ms. Shiva, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shailendra. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. With this, good evening, everyone present here. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks. I, Shiva Tiwari, on behalf of Shamlal College Evening and the entire fraternity of Sakshi team, extend a hearty vote of thanks to everyone present here. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartful gratitude to our today's guest of honor, Dr. Avantika Singh, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and sparing your valuable time with all of us. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your insightful thoughts and proficient words. We were truly grateful to have you. Now, I would like to thank all the teachers, respected and honorable, for joining GSTS 114th. Dr. Saroj ma'am, Dr. Sasi sir, Dr. JP sir, Dr. Neena ma'am, Dr. Ashish sir, Dr. Venu ma'am, Dr. Pankaj sir, and Dr. Ajay sir. Now it's time to thank the star of the day, Ms.Vaishnavi Mishra, for such a magnificent talk on the topic G20 Aim, History and Actions. Thank you so much, Ms. Vaishnavi, for making this event more informative for all of us. Now, I wholeheartedly thanks to all the students from different colleges, various departments for always being with us. Thank you all for your support and cooperation. Thank you so much, everyone, for making GSTS 114th a success. We will again meet on next Sunday with another very informative talk on the topic Dr. Ambedkar as a first visionary on water resource management by Mr. Abhinav. Till then, stay safe, take care. Thank you so much once again.
Yeah, we are have 120 seconds more, so it's my time. Usually, I'm not speaking in this forum, but we are having 120 seconds. Really wonderful, young, lots of Samdal Evening College, Salendra, Vaishnavi, Siva, and one of the energetic and young faculty member from political science. So I want to say that the Sunday, all these Sundays are more addictive with you people rather than a cup of coffee with friends and wandering monuments. So thank you very much, all of you, for wonderful evening and spending with me and the whole team. Hard to come out for each Sunday, which is with new ideas, the new thought-provoking idea. And this Sunday, one of our actual speaker, he could not suppose to speak out. So suddenly we go for the Vaishnavi in midst of this week, like Friday, and I asked Vaishnavi to kindly prepare for G20. So wonderful, Vaishnavi. You are having very only 20, 48 hours, and you prepared very well, and your thought-provoking questions and Dr. Avantika's well responded answer for those young students. Don't think only the politically. Sometimes Bharat or India is non-political also. So thank you very much for having me and Vaishnavi and whole my team. So Prime Minister, can we leave? It's time. It's 6 o'clock. Miss
Yes,
Prime
sir.
Minister.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you so much,
Avantika,
everyone.
for coming. Thank you. Thank you.